Barnett. I'm a doctor of naturopathic medicine. I'm an orthomolecular nutritionist. And we're here today to talk about how your lifestyle may be affecting your endocrine system, which your endocrine system, all the glands that are in that system are what produce the hormones in your body. A lot of times when people think hormones, they only think, like for women, they think they're female hormones, estrogen, progesterone, but every gland in that endocrine system produces its own set of hormones. And hormones in the body are like chemical messengers. And so there's receptor sites in the body as well for those. A lot of the chemicals and stuff that we subject our bodies to every day, you know, and there's a bunch you've already probably been reading about and hearing about in food, but there's other areas that is sadly neglected, and that's the average woman getting ready for work in the morning. From the time she wakes up till the time she walks out the door, has already subjected herself to almost 178 carcinogen chemicals in her beauty routine. Between your shampoo, your conditioner, your soaps, your deodorants, your perfumes, your makeup, cleaning products. I mean, it's more than you think. And they don't kill you at once. It's that toxic drum rusting under the ground trickle effect before it finally contaminates the groundwater. So, how do you know if you have some hormone imbalances? It's not just the obvious, okay? When you wake up, do you feel just as tired as you did when you went to bed? Are you having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep? A lot of people wake up at certain times after they've gone to bed. Key area for that's between 1 and 3 in the morning. That is when the dial rhythm cycle of your liver is doing its load test. It's cleaning itself. So if your liver is really dirty and really struggling, you're going to wake up between the hours of 1 and 3. Okay? Do you have coarse or blemished skin? You find yourself feeling irritable a lot. You feel tired after you eat. If you're one of those people that get sleepy after you eat. You have trouble focusing. Problems managing your weight. It doesn't mean overweight. It could be if you're having trouble gaining weight as well. Do you struggle with menopause? If you're a woman, do you have PMS issues? Okay. Chronic pain in your lower neck and upper back. These are all some symptoms of hormonal imbalance. How about your body temperature? Do you find that you've always got the cold hand and cold feet with thyroid issues? Do you feel that you're hot all the time in the room? For women going through menopause, that's the hot flashes. You feel that you're unnecessarily depressed or over anxious. Stress that you just can't get a handle on, emotional trauma, chemical toxins, poor diet. Are you susceptible to infections, anxiety? Are you taking prescription drugs for various health issues? All of these things can interfere with hormone production. Now let's talk a little bit real quick about the endocrine system. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down the body. The organs or the glands that are involved in your endocrine system are your hypothalamus, your pineal, your pituitary, your thyroid, your parathyroid, your thymus, your pancreas, your adrenals, and your gonads, which are your sex organs for male or female, okay? The endocrine disruptors, where are they coming from? Well, we've got a lot of synthetic estrogen out there, so that if you're on hormone replacement therapy, that's synthetic, okay? Dioxin compounds, we've got polychlorinated biphenyls, DDT, pesticides, bisphenol A, which is BPA. That's a chemical that's produced in large quantities in the production of polycarbonate plastics, a lot of other plastics that your water bottles are made out of, different storage containers, a lot of the containers that you put your leftovers in, all the plastic containers. I always tell my clients, don't ever reuse your sour cream containers and that kind of stuff, because you're typically going to put more leftovers in there, and the minute you put heat into those plastics, you're leaching that chemical from the plastic into the food. You don't ever want to microwave in plastic either. Glass only, okay? Endocrine disruptors, they're going to mimic or partly mimic natural occurring hormones in the body, like your estrogens, androgens, that's the male sex hormone, thyroid hormones. What they're able to do is they're going to bind to a receptor within a cell and block the real hormone from connecting or binding, okay? So then the normal signal is gonna fail to occur and the body's not gonna respond properly. So examples of chemicals that are gonna block or antagonize hormones are, you hear a lot about xenoestrogens. That's gonna come from synthetic hormone replacement therapy that's in our plastics. It's in a lot of the chemicals that are in our cleaning products. Your polyamethylparabens mimic estrogen in the body. This isn't just a woman problem either, by the way. There's a lot of men that are testing estrogen high. It's not the female estrogen, it's the xenoestrogen. But that starts to throw off his testosterone levels, and men also need to have proper progesterone levels to balance their testosterone. So progesterone's the balancing key in those elements when we're talking about those particular hormones. Chemicals that are known to disrupt the endocrine system are gonna be dioxins, dioxin-like compounds, polychlorinated biphenyls, which are your PCBs, DDT, which is still being used in certain pesticides. We talked already about the biphenyl, the BPA. Your phthalates, those are also manufactured in a wide variety of consumer packaging, a lot of children's products if you have kids. Some polyvinyl chloride, which is PVC, that's in a lot of medical devices. It's in all of the IV bags that they hang in the hospitals and so forth. These impact hormonal disruptors, their ability to reach and get there ahead, and it affects subsequent generations because those chemicals are stored in the body. So if you're trying to have a baby, it can change the RNA and the DNA structure of that fetus as it's grown inside the mom's body, because your body's going to store these chemicals in your fat cells, right? Environmental chemicals have not only affected our biological system, it's affecting our wildlife. They did a study where there was a sewage runoff going into streams and ponds, and the fishermen, avid fishermen, were finding out that they were having trouble telling male fish from female fish. They could no longer, they were finding that the fish are starting to turn into hermaphrodites, to where they have both male and female hormones going on inside the fish. And we're eating this stuff, okay? Hormonal imbalance, if you smoke, if you have an imbalance in your intestinal flora in the gut, if you drink excessive alcohol, if your diet's high in saturated fat, hydrogenated fats, refined sugar, simple carbs, if you eat too much meat, a real high diet in dairy, that also is going to imbalance your hormones, because a lot of those foods have the chemicals in them. Your dairy is loaded, unless you're drinking the organic milks that have the hormone-free aspect going on. But a lot of people don't buy the organic cheeses and stuff like that. They'll get maybe the organic milk, but the rest of their dairy, they're not. Those animals are injected with those hormones to fatten them up faster. Our daughter lives in Iowa, and they run a pig farm. They work for people that run the pig farms, and they put all those chemicals in the feed for these pigs. What used to take an average farmer years ago 9 months to fatten a pig up from infant to market, they're doing in like six months. Okay, I mean, they're just doubling and tripling their weight. It makes them eat till they want to explode. Well, you're eating a lot of these foods, and it's doing the same thing. You have an insatiable appetite. No matter how much you eat, you might still feel hungry. You find yourself pissing all the time because these receptors are being blocked. Okay. Exposure to all the electromagnetic chemicals, that's in the pesticides, the phthalates, fire retardants, parabens, and cosmetics. Understanding that when these chemicals are in anything you're putting on the skin, 26 seconds, anything that's on the skin is a direct feed into your bloodline. Have you ever put something on your hands and you can feel or taste the vapor of it in your throat? There's certain lotions and things like that. When it comes to your shampoos, your lotions, the stronger the perfume smell, the more chemical they're covering up, guys. That's a strong rule of thumb. So, and we're all geared by, it's gotta smell good, it's gotta smell good. You know, we put all this fabric softener in our laundry. That's oil-based. It's petroleum petroleum, with all these other chemicals. And what happens is those oils adhere to your fibers and you don't wash that out. Okay, so it's in contact with your skin, it's on your bed sheets. Anything that you're washing with these chemicals is staying stuck in that fiber, and it has direct contact with your skin, so you're absorbing those chemicals all day long. When you have small kids and they're having allergy reactions and you can't get on top of it, they've tried this, they've tried this, they've tried that, you need to look at some of those common factors. Glade plug-ins, all these air fresheners everybody's using, all these scented candles. You have to make sure that you're using good sources of those. Essential oils is a really good thing to fall back on for that. To scent your room, they have the diffusers now. They've got some, so you can see what they look like if you're not sure what it is. Some of them you just put straight oil in, some you mix with water, you plug it in, and it makes the room smell good. They even make them now where you can plug them into your outlets, just like the Glade plug-ins, only it's got a little cloth pad on there, and you put whatever essential oil you like to smell, and it'll diffuse into the room. You can put them in your cars too, they have them for cigarette lighters. But you want to start really paying attention, and when I'm working with my clients, I tell them the same thing. You're all carrying around little computers with your smartphones. So there's no reason why you can't, when you're getting ready to purchase something, flip it over, look at the list of ingredients. Number one, if you can't pronounce it, I suggest you look it up. Just Google it. You know, and if you go to there's the website, EWG, you can put whatever product you have, go home and go through your cleaning products, go through your beauty products, type them in by name, and it gives it a rating on where the chemical load is at. And it's all explained on their website. I think it'll blow your mind when you realize lipstick, favorite lipstick you've been wearing for years, the darker the color, the higher the lead content. Lead is what sets the color. And you're licking your lips all day with it on there. You know, people go for, I send them for hair strand tests all the time because it's the most accurate test. It far surpasses blood work to see where your minerals are at, but it also picks up chemicals. And I get people that their lead's off the chart, their arsenic levels off the chart. They're like, arsenic, who's poisoning me? But if they're using fertilizers for plants, for their gardens and stuff, arsenic is still being used in those. And you're absorbing it because most of us don't use gloves and that kind of thing when we're handling it. I mean, how many use gloves when you're cleaning your own house? Most of us don't. We're in a hurry, we spray what we're gonna spray, wipe the surface down, and we go. You're absorbing all of that. In your skin, you're breathing it in. So, what are you supposed to avoid and start making changes with? Your laundry detergent, your fabric softener. Instead of using fabric softener, invest in those wool dryer balls that you toss in the dryer and throw some essential oils on there, and it actually cuts your drying time down because by the balls rolling around in there, it separates your clothes so the air can circulate better, and you can scent your clothes with the essential oils in the process. The dryer sheet's the same thing. You don't want to use them. They're toxic. Avoid anything that's got parabens, methyl polyparabens in there. Shampoos, that's going to be in your shampoos, your soaps, a lot of makeups, hand lotions, body lotions, toothpaste, sodium lauryl sulfates. That's in a lot of things that need to have an anti-surfactant to them. So it's in a lot of your any kind of pastes or creams. Instead of using lotion, use coconut oil, sweet almond oil. Little goes a long way. Jojoba oil. Put that on your skin after you get out of the shower if you're dealing with dry skin or you just want to moisturize it a little bit. If you know that you're struggling with high estrogen levels, if you've been told that you have some kind of estrogen-fed cancers, or you know that your estrogen's too high if you're going through a wicked menopause, struggling with PMS, or if you've got fibroids, which are estrogen-fed, understand that coffee increases your estradiol levels up to 70%. So if you're estrogen high, coffee needs to go, all right? Watch your sunscreen contents, especially with kids. But even a lot of the sunscreens that say that they're natural, the chemicals that are in there are causing skin cancer, especially if it's loaded with the PABA, okay? PABA.
I thought that was good for you, Pat.
Not for a sunscreen. When it combines with the other ingredients in the sunscreen, it changes the chemical composition. You want one that's a zinc oxide based, okay?
Have any suggestions on that?
Zinc oxide, there's different companies
There's-
out there.
Badger right there.
Right here. Okay, zinc oxide cream, it's gonna be that white cream. It's not really gonna absorb in a whole bunch. You wanna basically do shoulders, nose, ear tips, the places that you know you really fry. The rest of the skin, when I'm in, and I'm fair complected, I will burn if I'm out there too long. The only thing I put on when I go out in the sun is coconut oil. I might put some zinc oxide on my nose, cause I would get that blister, or the top of your ears if you're gonna have your hair back. But especially for the kids, okay? And throw a white t-shirt on them. You know, you can wet the t-shirt down and put a wet t-shirt on them if they're in the swimming pool or you're gonna take them to the beach or to the park and it's really hot. Just cover the existing parts and then cover the rest of it up, right? Toothpaste, we've got some really nice alternatives, fluoride-free. Chlorine and fluoride will actually inhibit your thyroid from uptaking proper amounts of iodine. So it will stifle the productivity of your thyroid. So you wanna do fluoride-free. Spry's a real good company. Dr. Bronner's toothpaste has got some real nice properties to it. There's no chemicals in any of these. There's another brand called Pilu. That's another good, you have to immediately get your brain around the fact it's not gonna taste like what you're used to with Colgate and Crest and some of those that have all the added sugars and chemicals and stuff in there. The Spry does not taste bad, okay? That I have not tried the Dr. Bronner's myself, but the Spry toothpaste, those are not bad, okay? Taste-wise and texture-wise from what you're probably used to.
What about Tom's?
Tom's, his isn't bad. It's not my favorite. He does have some stuff in there that I wish they'd take out, but it's not my favorite. You have to read too, because he does have with fluoride and with
Right.
with and without, but not my favorite.
I thought it was too good.
Well, it's still
It's better than.
it's
yeah.
still better than Crest or Colgate by far, but you're still getting some chemical load in there, all right? Perfumes, worst chemical load on the market. When you buy a bottle of perfume, it doesn't really give you a full list of ingredients of what's in it, guys. Okay, they allow with the labeling practice to be able to hide a whole lot under one word, okay? That's, to protect copyrights is how they've got it set up. But like they've got in the back, they've got some like rose water spritzers and things like that. You can make your own perfumes and stuff, combining it with oil and put it in one of the roller bars and use the essential oils. Lang Lang is really good, patchouli, frankincense, do a combination and blend some of them. And I think you gave them some recipes or
There's,
something.
yeah,
didn't
there's some sheets there for that.
you? Okay. A lot healthier with the essential oils, okay? Now, ladies that have fibroid issues, okay? We know that fibroids are typically estrogen fed, all right? Indole carbinol 3, I would recommend 400 to 600 milligrams a day in the morning and in the evening. And that's based on every 100 pounds that the person weighs, okay? So if you're over 100 pounds, you have to calculate a little bit. Bioflavonoids, 2,000 and work your way up to 8,000 milligrams a day. This is to shrink the fibroid, okay?
Milligrams of what?
Bioflavonoids.
Oh.
Natural progesterone cream, you will do 3 weeks on, 1 week off. So you basically start that if you still get a cycle at the end of your cycle, and you put the cream on every day for 3 weeks, and you take a week off and your cycle should start. Same thing though if you're menopausal and you don't have a cycle, you still have to cycle it. Nattokinase breaks down fibrin in the body. Most of your fibroids are made up of fibrin, okay? So if you start to take some of the nattokinase, it will start to break it down. Now, I like to tell people that within the first 3 weeks, as that's working, you're gonna feel slightly bloated if you have fibroids, as it's starting to break it down. I warn you ahead of time. As it's kind of like when you're cleaning out the trash, you have a little bit of a side effect that goes with it, okay, so you will bloat a little bit with that. But the other thing is supplementing with iodine drops, especially if you've got fibroids. You would start at like 3 milligrams a day and work your way up to 10 milligrams. You can do that with liquid kelp. I think they've got some liquid iodine on the shelf as well. Liquid's easier to control your dose with, and it absorbs into the system a lot faster than trying to do it through a capsule or a tablet, okay? Flax meal is a really rich source of a compound that's gonna convert to what we call lignans, okay? And lignans, they are phytoestrogenic. That helps to balance your body's estrogen levels because it binds to the same estrogen receptor sites in the body so that if it gets there first, then the xenoestrogen can't bind there, okay? It's like the parking spot's already taken. So your body will, the fiber in the flax and so forth helps to flush the excess out so you're not storing the wrong kind of estrogen. Lentils are another food that's really good. They're high in soluble fiber, which works the same as the lignans. Other foods that are gonna help accomplish that is high amount of apples, barley, beans, psyllium, or oat bran. All of those are gonna work in like fiber in the body and sweep out, okay? Apples are great because it's loaded with something called apopectin, which absorbs 5 times its weight in toxicity in the body, by the way. So that old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, there's some truth to that. Okay, some supplements, if you know you've got hormonal issues, if you know you've got a thyroid issue, if you know that your female or your male hormones are off, if you got low testosterone, low progesterone, you know your hormones are off, okay? If you're diabetic, you're off in those hormones, that's part of the endocrine system. Some of the things that you can do to start balancing hormones, deglucarate. You'll find that in a lot of women's products. Okay, so they've got a few products up here where the deglucarate's in here. This helps women if they've got cystic breasts going on, if you've got fibroids, if you're trying to balance, you know, too much estrogen going into the system. It's a natural way that you can do it without upsetting the apple cart everywhere else. Because deglucarate, it's D-GLUCERATE. The other is green tea extract. They had some of that up here. They've got it in capsule and liquid. Green tea extract is really beneficial with the polyphenols that's in there. So it helps to balance the free radicals and all the inflammation and stuff that goes with hormonal imbalance. Curcumin, which is also turmeric, that helps to balance hormones. Milk thistle. We want to support the liver because the liver is the processing plant for every single hormone in your body. Hormones are like switches. They go from on-off to neutral every time they pass through the liver wherever the body needs them as they're passing through the receptor sites. If you understand how the endocrine system works, they're glands. So that doesn't mean that they don't have ductwork, that they're passing these hormones through. They secrete them. So it passes it off to the lymph system and the blood flow as it's passing by these glands. And then that's how they circulate through the body, which has to go through the liver. The liver is the processor. It's flipping that switch on, off to neutral. So you want to support the liver. Plus it has to factor out all the toxins that your body's being exposed to living on planet Earth. Chase tree berry, that's another thing for balancing hormones. That works real well for women. Okay, it's in a lot of women products. It's also called Vitex, so that's another name for it, but chase tree berry. The gals here are real helpful, so if you're writing any of these things down, after you're done here, they can show you where everything's at, okay? Evening primrose oil is wonderful for balancing hormones. Borage oil works really well for men. If your testosterone is low, borage oil works very, very well for helping to balance male hormones. Indole-free carbinol. That is made from the crustaceous broccoli, cauliflower, okay? It's a chemical that's emitted from that if you eat a lot of it and so forth. A lot of people avoid eating it because it produces a lot of gas when you're trying to digest it. So if you take it in a supplement form, it doesn't give you that side effect if you eat it. If that stuff makes you real gassy, you will probably wanna try doing that in a supplement form. That is really good for reducing estrogen markers, especially in female cancers, okay? Alfalfa is one of my favorite go-to herbs because it's high in minerals. The roots grow down about 50 feet in the soil, so it picks up a lot of trace minerals from the dirt. So it helps to balance minerals and it detoxifies, and it's a really good bowel stimulator. Liquid chlorophyll cleans the blood, helps with your digestion, supports the liver, and stimulates the bowel because it encourages the liver to produce extra bile to clean itself. Bile is a degreasing agent, guys. So when we get all that stored fat from eating trans fatty acids, saturated fats, the liver's gonna overproduce bile to try and degrease. It's kinda like when you're washing your plates. If you just had a greasy meal on there, plain water's not gonna get the grease off the plate. You have to have dish soap, which is your degreaser. That's what bile is in your body. It's a degreasing agent. Another one that's my personal favorite, every practitioner has their main go-to supplements and so forth, but go-to cola is one of my favorites for hormone balance because it's a brain food, supports the pituitary gland, the nervous system, and headaches that are caused from hormonal swings. It's fabulous for that. And then you don't have to take something like Tylenol or ibuprofen that, taking those NSAIDs over a long period of time can upset the stomach and cause some liver issues.
What was that again? Did you say?
Go-to cola, it's an herb, it comes in a capsule.
So would that work for like migraines, for women who get migraines?
If it's hormonally based, if it's a hormone that they're getting, because they had something with MSG or artificial sweeteners, no. But if it's for the women that get that headache from hell at the onset of their cycle, that kind of thing, it works like a champ.
Huh.
Okay? The other thing is infrared sauna, okay? The human body hormones communicate at a level of something of parts per trillion, okay? This is about the same concentration as if you took and spit in the size of an Olympic pool, all right? That's why hormones can be so hard to balance. A little tips the scale one way or the other. But when you start to use an infrared sauna on a routine basis, they've taken blood samples and found that the overage of hormones starts to balance because it's pulling it out of the stored fat cells, putting it into the bloodstream where the body can now dispose of it, okay, can filter it out. So most of us are familiar with something called cellulite, okay? We have it in our legs, or we might have it on our behind or the back of our arms. That's where the fat cells are rippled. They're rippled because that's where the toxins are being stored at. If you have cellulite, I guarantee your body's hanging on to toxins and you let it out, okay?
How often should you do the infrared sauna?
Well, depending on what somebody's got going on, I've recommended clients use it 3 times a week, but stretch it out, okay? You don't wanna do 3 days back to back because it causes a detox. And there's a lot of information out there that says, it's safe to use them daily and so forth, and I, from a professional perspective, disagree. Because when depending on somebody's metabolic rate and the health of what they've got going on physically, their body has to be strong enough to take the trash out. So you're stirring it up by being in the sauna, and of course you want to drink a lot of water and so forth after, and I'd recommend doing a lot of skin brushing, dry skin brushing after using the sauna as well. This is going to bring toxins up to the surface. It's going to use the skin as the largest elimination organ. It's going to throw things into the lymph system as well as the blood, which is going to filter through the liver, and hopefully you're going to poop some of that stuff out too. But if you pull more toxins out and turn them loose than what the body is strong enough to take out to the trash, it's going to resettle and reabsorb someplace else, and that's when you get the sick reactions from a detox. When somebody says, I tried to do one of those detoxes and I felt like I was dying. That's because their metabolic rate was so slow, it wasn't fast enough to remove what you're stirring up. The detox is doing what it's supposed to do, but your body is the messenger. Everybody's different. There is not a one-size-fits-all for this. So a good routine, like let's say you're battling cancer and you wanna start getting some of these chemicals out of your system and you wanna use the sauna. I would do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Give your body a break in between. In between on those off days, do an Epsom salt bath. You're gonna help the lymph system drain and cleanse even more, okay? Dry skin brushing is the easiest, cheapest, healthiest thing you can do to your health routine. You hang a loofah right outside your shower. You're gonna use it before you get in the shower. It's not wet, it's dry, because you're gonna stimulate the lymph system, which isn't that far underneath your skin. Then you're gonna get in the shower where it's hot water, it's gonna open up the pores and allow stuff to come out through the lymph system. Your lymph system's everywhere, everywhere. There you go, body brushes work as well too. Natural bristle body brushes. You don't wanna use, I had one lady using a nylon hairbrush, and she's like, my skin's getting irritated. Yeah, not a good thing. You know, and the brushes and the loofahs, you can get long life out of those. With the brushes, I will take hydrogen peroxide, mix it in water with a spray bottle, spray it down. It'll kill any bacteria and dead skin cell yuck that's hanging around on there.
Can I see that?
The brush, yeah, pass it around, everybody can take a look, feel the bristles. It's stiff enough to get the dry skin off and stimulate the circulation of the skin.
Jodi, we do have infrared sauna at Munster,
Okay,
so we take appointments basically 7 days a week there.
okay. All right, it's a good thing to use, guys. The infrared sauna really works, all right? It's beneficial for so many health issues, circulatory, cholesterol, blood pressure reduction, but it's an excellent way to get all of these extra chemicals out of your body, including heavy metals. All right, heavy metals is the other chemical that I haven't gotten to yet, but it is able to cross the blood-brain barrier. So it sets up housekeeping, and we hear about Alzheimer's, people with memory issues. If you're cooking with aluminum foil, drinking out of aluminum cans, cooking with aluminum pots and pans, you want to stop, because that aluminum reaches into your food and you're ingesting it. You know, a lot of the people in my grandmother's generation all cooked with aluminum cookware because it distributed the heat so nice and evenly, right? Well, they're all dealing with dementia issues and Alzheimer's issues and stuff like that. When aluminum foil came on the scene, they thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, because they could not have any pan cleanup, they'd wrap their food in that instead. If you're gonna use aluminum foil for like your grilling and stuff, get some parchment paper, boil it down. You just have to put a little bit of oil and rub it around, it absorbs really quick. Put your food on the parchment paper, then wrap the foil. And that still allows you to use the foil on the grill but not have your food touching the aluminum. Okay. I wanted to give you a little bit of breakdown because I don't think a lot of people understand what all the glands are responsible for in the endocrine system. Starting at the top, the hypothymus gland, that is the main link between your endocrine system and your central nervous system. It's located in the lower central part of your brain, and there's a special collection of cells that are there. The nerve cells of the hypothymus also control your pituitary gland. And it stimulates the pituitary by suppressing certain hormone secretions. The hypothymus gland is responsible, folks, for controlling your hunger and your thirst. So when somebody's, you know, the first thing I tell my clients is you should be drinking half your body weight in ounces. Most people, their natural thirst just isn't there. And then when I say, well, we need to support your hypothymus gland, what's that got to do with my thirst? Well, they don't understand. That's the job of its hormones, is to control and trigger those. So it's important. That's a good trigger, or for you to understand that yours is struggling. The way you eat is an expression of who you are, regardless of the quality of the food, okay? So, the enjoyment of good food and company creates that inner joy that's possible to taste the sweetness of even the simplest of foods. So without that joy, there's no blessing. You don't want to eat something that, you know, when you go to a restaurant, you don't order something that you know is good for you, but you can't stand it, right? People, though, who only eat for the taste, or according to a diet or just nutritional value, always are gonna develop those cravings that sends them off whatever health route they're trying to take, okay? So you're essentially working against yourself. If you have something that's a favorite, you don't deny yourself that, you just don't eat it over the top and crazy, because you're gonna derail whatever healthy changes you're trying to make dietary-wise, right? The pineal gland is located in the center front of the brain. It's been a mystery to Western medicine for a long time, but after they started doing more and more research, they showed that the pineal gland plays a very active role in your health and wellness at your mental and physical levels. It's a light-sensitive organ, which requires stimulation from the optic nerves. That's why people that are blind struggle, because that pineal nerve needs to see sunlight, and then when things go dark. Somebody that's permanently blind, they're in a perpetual state of darkness. So there's a lot of them that struggle emotionally with that, because that's what sets your body clock, right? The pineal gland is the only gland that makes melatonin. And it makes the melatonin from serotonin. So that process operates strictly according to day-night rhythms. People that work night shifts, they end up with their melatonin levels are off and their sleep cycle gets disrupted, because the built-in body clock is set from light to dark, not dark to light. So people that work a midnight shifts, that's why they really struggle, right? Melatonin works together with tryptophan in the brain. That's what regulates that sleep-wake cycle. And because the pineal gland also influences your brainwave pattern and your sleep-wake cycle, that's where, you know, when your sleep is disrupted, it affects your mood, it affects your mental health. That's where people, it's like somebody says, oh, we're a pedestal. If your sleep cycle is disrupted, it causes very erratic mood swings as a result, because your serotonin and melatonin levels are off. Then we move to the pituitary gland. This is what a lot of people in the field call the master gland, and it's located at the base of the brain just below the hypothalamus. This governs your equilibrium and the balance of your entire glandular system. It's a real important one. The front part of this gland is concerned with the growth of the body and your reproductive function. The hormone that this gland secretes stimulates our sex glands. That's what causes our sex glands to mature from childhood up. The posterior, or the rear part, is involved with contractions of muscles and pressure of the blood circulating through your system. The color pigment of your skin. It controls and influences the function of your kidneys. It helps to regulate the passage of the water going through your kidneys. The intermediate, or the middle part of this gland, exerts a restraining influence on the kidney, so it controls the push and pull of the kidney cycle. We see both functions of the same organ or gland regulated by different parts of another gland. So when the pituitary is dysfunctioning, a lot of people will see that in people that have kidney issues. Okay. People that overeat a lot of starch and eat a lot of flour products, there's a certain molecule in that particular starch that they're starting to connect the dots for a lot of pituitary disturbances that disrupt kidney function and cause a lot of polycystic kidney disease issues and kidney failure issues, renal issues, period. If you have a child that struggles with bedwetting and you can't seem to get on top of it, I guarantee you, if you take all that starch and flour out of their diet for 2 weeks, you'll see the bedwetting really starts to improve. It doesn't completely go away. Okay, it causes overstimulation. Same with elderly that have urination flow control issues, to where they're wearing Depends and stuff like that. If they're having that, you're seeing all these drugs out there in these commercials for, you know, people that can't hold their bladders. And instead of just hiding the symptom, correct the cause. If you check your diet, chances are you're overeating a lot of starch and floury products, and it's overstimulating the kidneys, which is going to overstimulate the bladder. Cut back on those, see what happens. Okay. Thyroid, located in the front part of the neck, shaped like a butterfly. Most people are familiar with this one, yet we're seeing more and more people struggling with thyroid issues. They're either hypo or hyper, meaning slow or too fast. Our diets are void of adequate amounts of iodine. So whether it's too fast or too slow, iodine is still the issue. Proper utilization of it by the organ and proper absorption of it, okay? The thyroid's got a strong controlling influence on every single chemical process that's carried on in the body, and for a woman, it acts like a third ovary. So as you're struggling with PMS, as you're struggling with menopause, I always support nutritionally the woman's thyroid, because I guarantee you it's either underactive or it's cycling to where it's going fast and slow, fast and slow. Usually it's kind of going back and forth. So we try and get some support going to that thyroid. The other thing is that it also helps to a degree to start to balance calcium usage in the body. It produces a third hormone that a lot of people don't talk about, but the thyroid plays a part in that works with the parathyroid. Your parathyroid controls blood calcium levels. Parathyroids, there's 4 of them, 2 on each side. Their function, like I said, regulates your blood calcium, and the calcitonin, that's what the thyroid produces, is the calcitonin. You cannot absorb proper calcium without ample amounts of calcitonin that the thyroid secretes. They influence the lymph system, neutralizing certain types of toxins in the body. The parathyroid glands are responsive when we have a lot of negative emotions, like if we're dealing with a lot of anxiety, worry, fear, anger, hatred, jealousy. That actually causes them to harden up, and it restricts the production of the hormone from being released. The function of the parathyroid is, of course, to regulate your calcium metabolism and the calcium content in both your blood, your teeth, and your bones. Then when we move on to the thymus gland, this is a big one as we get older because it shrinks. Okay, it's right here. I have my clients, when they get old, I have them tap. I have them do body tapping because it'll stimulate it. I mean, don't beat on your chest, but just, you know, a few fingers. If you're old and you know that if you're at the age of 40 and up, you know that your immune system's struggling because you catch every cold, every virus, you're sick all through the winter, you get a lot of sinus junk going on. You want to strengthen that thymus gland. Tapping can help stimulate it, but it's composed of 2 identical lobes, and it's right behind the sternum, right here. And when we're young, from infant up to 8 months, it breaks down the casein and the other elements in the mother's milk. Okay? It enables their body to assimilate and utilize milk or its equivalent. After 18 months, it undergoes a functional change, and until puberty and the beginning of adolescence, the thymus gland is involved with the development exclusively of their sex glands. With the advent of adolescence, then it becomes the important factor in setting someone's character and their emotional status. As we get older, it starts to deplete in function, all right? So it controls our height, how tall we are, how short we are. It controls our instincts, our character. After we get to a certain age and it starts to get flabby and out of texture, you know, we start to notice that, you know, our need for affection starts to get less and less. You know, we don't need that huggy, kissy, feely thing. That's when usually our grandparents start sleeping in separate bedrooms. They want their space. You snore, you keep me awake. We start to notice that change. Okay, and that's all due to the fact that the thymus gland is starting to shrink. Pancreas. We hear a lot about that these days because right now we're seeing more and more children that are struggling with diabetes. The pancreas is